Looking right, firing for the touchdown to Gronkowski. Couldn't bring him down, and Gronkowski to the end zone.
Touchdown, Gronkowski. The 5 to the end zone, Gronkowski. Potential touchdown. Rob Gronkowski.
Rob Gronkowski changed the game for tight ends in the NFL. He was more than just a player. He was a versatile weapon on the field. Gronk caught passes like a receiver, blocked like a lineman, and ran with a fullback's power. But his real impact came from how he forced defenses to adapt. Teams had to completely change their plans when facing him. He created opportunities for his teammates and added a new dimension to offensive play. So how did this Buffalo kid become such a dominant force in football? Picture this, a 6'6", 265-pound kid who could outrun wide receivers and bulldoze linebackers. That was young Rob Gronkowski. Growing up in a family of athletes, Gronk was always competing. With 4 brothers who all went on to play pro sports, the Gronkowski house was like a mini sports factory. Surprisingly, Gronk wasn't a hot prospect coming out of high school. He landed at the University of Arizona, where he quickly made his mark. In just 23 games, he set school records for tight ends in catches, yards, and touchdowns. Gronk put up 75 receptions for 1,197 yards and 16 touchdowns, numbers that would make any wide receiver proud. NFL scouts couldn't ignore Gronk's unique mix of size, speed, and hands. He could block, run, and catch with the best of them. When the 2010 NFL draft came around, everyone was wondering where Gronk would end up. In the second round, the New England Patriots traded up to grab him with the 42nd pick. Bill Belichick, the Patriots head coach, saw Gronk's potential to shake up the tight end position. He had plans to use Gronk's skills in ways that would give defenses headaches. As Gronk headed to New England to join Tom Brady and Belichick, the excitement was building. The NFL was about to see a new kind of tight end play, with Gronk leading the charge. Everyone was eager to see if this big kid from Arizona could live up to the growing hype and make his mark on the league. So Gronk hits the NFL and just explodes onto the scene. In his first 2 seasons, he scores 27 touchdowns. That's more than any tight end in history over that span. Gronk was unlike anything the NFL had seen before. At 6'6" and 265 pounds, he was as big as a lineman but moved like a wide receiver. He'd flatten a defensive end on one play, then outrun a safety for a touchdown on the next. Defenses couldn't figure him out. Linebackers were too slow, safeties too small. And cornerbacks? They didn't stand a chance. There's this play against the Redskins in 2011 that really shows what Gronk could do. He catches a short pass over the middle, shakes off a linebacker, throws a safety to the ground with a stiff arm, and then jumps right over a cornerback. It wasn't just cool to watch, it showed how Gronk's unique skills made him nearly impossible to cover one-on-one. His stats were crazy too. In 2011, his second year, Gronk racked up 1,327 receiving yards and 17 touchdowns. Those numbers are amazing for anyone, let alone a tight end. He even had more receiving yards that year than Calvin Johnson, who was seen as the best receiver in the game. Gronk was changing what it meant to be a tight end. He could block, he could catch, he could do it all. He showed that a tight end could be the star of an offense, not just a sidekick. So Gronk was a beast in the regular season, but the playoffs, that's where he really shined. When the pressure was on, Gronk stepped up big time. Let's talk numbers. In 22 playoff games, Gronk caught 98 passes for 1,389 yards and 15 touchdowns. No tight end in NFL history has more playoff touchdowns. He averaged 63.1 yards per game in the playoffs, even better than his regular season average of 61.7. And he scored touchdowns even more often in the postseason. Gronk played in 5 Super Bowls and won 4 of them. He made 23 catches for 297 yards and 3 touchdowns in those games. Each Super Bowl had its own Gronk moment. Against the Seahawks, he caught a huge 22-yard touchdown late in the fourth quarter to put the Patriots ahead. In the Eagles game, he made an insane catch in double coverage for a touchdown with just 2 minutes left. Injuries tried to slow Gronk down a couple times in the playoffs. He played through a bad ankle in one Super Bowl, and a broken arm kept him out of most of another postseason. But when he was healthy, unstoppable. In the 2014 playoffs, he had 16 catches, 204 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns in just 3 games. What made Gronk special in the playoffs was how he always came through in big moments. He didn't just put up stats, he changed games when it mattered most. That's what set him apart from other tight ends. Gronk's playoff success is off the charts. He's got the best postseason numbers for a tight end ever. 4 Super Bowl rings, a bunch of records, and a reputation for being clutch. That's a playoff legacy that makes you think, could Gronk be the best tight end ever? Because doing it in the regular season is one thing, but showing up when it really counts, that's what makes a player truly great. When you're talking about the best tight end ever, it's usually Gronk versus Gonzalez. Gonzalez played 17 seasons and racked up insane numbers. He's got the most catches and yards for a tight end. But Gronk, he was something else. Gonzalez was like a marathon runner, steady and reliable. Gronk was a wrecking ball. We didn't play as long, but he changed the game like no one else. From 2011 to 2017, Gronk was a nightmare for defenses. He'd burn them deep one play, then flatten the linebacker the next. And he's got 4 Super Bowl rings, more than any other tight end. Gronk wasn't just piling up stats, he was winning championships. Even Bill Belichick and Tom Brady couldn't stop praising him. Belichick said he's the best tight end he's ever coached, and Brady talked about how Gronk dominated as both a receiver and a blocker. Coming from those two, that's huge. But Gronk's impact goes beyond his own stats. He changed how teams use tight ends. Before him, tight ends were usually either receivers or blockers. Gronk showed you could be great at both, and that a tight end could be the main guy in an offense. Now, every team is looking for their own Gronk. That's where Gronk's influence really shows. He didn't just play well, he changed the game. Teams realized the do-it-all tight end could make their offense unstoppable, and now young players are all trying to be like Gronk. That's the kind of impact that lasts way longer than any record. Rob Gronkowski dominated as one of the NFL's most dynamic tight ends. With 621 receptions, 9,286 yards, and 92 touchdowns, he turned the field into his personal highlight reel. A 4-time Super Bowl champ, Gronk's blend of power, humor, and athleticism redefined the position. So when you look at Gronk's career, it's clear he changed the tight end position big time. Before Gronk, tight ends were kind of an afterthought in most offenses. But he showed up, and suddenly teams were building their whole game plan around this big guy who could block like a tackle and catch like a wide receiver. Gronk didn't just play well, he changed how teams use tight ends. Now, coaches are always looking for that next versatile tight end who can create mismatches all over the field. His combo of size, speed, and hands set a new bar for the position. When you think about Gronk's legacy, it's all about how he redefined what a tight end can do in the NFL. He showed that a tight end could be a main weapon on offense, not just a blocker or occasional pass catcher. That's the big impact he leaves on the game, and it's why he'll go down as one of the best tight ends ever. If you want to know how Gronk compares to the other legends of the game, be sure to check out our video on Tony Gonzalez. To stay updated with our latest content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.